This Thing Called Life is a podcast dedicated to exploring the twists, turns, and transformative moments that shape our lives and the lives of others. It is a space where we can share our experiences so we can learn, grow, and empower change. You're listening to This Thing Called Life. I am your host, Atlas. Today, our guest is Amanda Jones. Amanda is a change coach that has been helping people wake up to the freedom and peace they sense is always on the other side of solving some problem. For nearly a decade, she's coached through Dr. Amy Johnson's Little School of Big Change and in working with clients one-on-one, guiding people through conditioned thinking and reconnect with what's already true within them. Amanda shares her transformative journey from professional dancer to spiritual awakening, exploring the power of thought, the importance of play, and the path to self-awareness. We start the conversation with her describing her turning point, noticing an eating disorder as a professional dancer in New York City.
Well, I would say so I was a professional dancer in New York City for decades, and that was my dream. But throughout that time, I developed eating disorders, depression, just everything kind of closed down in, and my outward life did not match my internal experience. Like I was like, I everything's great, but I feel like awful. So So then I moved. I had to move because I was sick and, everything that comes to that. And then, I started kind of exploring what was going on here. And the turning point, I would say, was when I had a huge insight about thought and it's like swimming in water. The fish in water doesn't know what water is until maybe it does. I don't know. But it's when you kind of wake up to the fact of thought and the stories that it creates as your reality, um, suddenly there's an awakening in that everything I think about myself was never true. It was inherited, adopted, absorbed. Um, And that's why it felt off because it was off. It was not me, not mine. And so that I think that was a huge turning point. Just waking up to the fact of thought and how it creates the realities and why it feels so hard to be yourself or find out what you want to do or because we're being told all the time how to think, feel, be and do. There's a right way and a wrong way, and you better figure it out. And I think that, breaking that structure apart through exploration and curiosity and all the things, learning, um, really, really is vital, I think, to have it because I think everybody has a turning point, but it has to kind of blow up and rupture. And then the reconfiguring of everything is more light, more playful and joyful, more childlike, perhaps.
We get to realize that we get to have fun and,
Yeah,
and play
yes, yeah,
and whatever play it looks like for everyone is different. Whether it's singing, it could be dancing, it could
yeah,
be poetry, art,
yeah,
or
yeah.
I mean, there's many things that we can kind of do to
You
play.
could
But
be an accountant.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I tell my clients, I used to play librarian. Like, I would have my books and my little stamp, and I go and it occurred to me, we're still playing. I don't care what your job is, you're still playing. You're pretend playing to be an adult, to be a librarian, an accountant, what we're still that has never gone away. There was never a point in time that anybody can tell me where they actually were now serious and grown up, and now I don't play anymore.
hmm
Never.
Right. I mean, it's like I feel like many things can be true at once, and I know that's something that you believe as well. And there at times we can be serious, right? We can take things because serious things are happening, but at the same time we can have fun and we can play and learning that multiple things can coexist at any particular time. Um, the one thing that I was curious about is, I definitely I imagine sort of like hearing you talk about sort of this turning point that like things started to like narrow in I close up, and there was sort of like that you, couldn't go along that path anymore, right? You had to do something because it just got the suffering got too much. And I'm wondering what was it like that you sort of came to terms with this eating disorder? Meaning if there was someone out there that was maybe was unsure of like, "Hey, I think I might have this happening," or "I'm not sure." What was it like you coming to terms with, "Okay, I've got this eating disorder?"
Well, at some point, there's I think, there's a knowing inside us that the behaviors that we're doing are helping something. And when we start if somebody could loosen the grip on, I have to stop this behavior, I have to stop this behavior, this is awful, this is whatever. When we can loosen that grip and start to understand that underneath, um, the iceberg, so to speak, what we want to do is warm the water instead of taking our pickaxe at the tip of the iceberg and try to stop the behaviors and try to, you know, force a different way of being. If when we can drop below the behaviors and start to see why they're happening, why they've been giving us a sense of safety, and who is that is being kept safe. Is it the identity, or is it actually the real expanded awareness? It's usually the identity. So when the identity can be kind of explored in a way that, we start to see it doesn't need safety because it's made of thought, um, that helps us get away from the cycle of behaviors as being a problem. Now, for me, I knew something was changing deeply, but the behaviors continued, but I wasn't worried about it because I knew it the physical dimension needs time to catch up to whatever shifts are happening on a deeper level of consciousness. So I think it's vital for people to know that the behaviors will catch up to what's shifting underneath, and really be compassionate and be okay with some of these things still hanging around for a bit because it's not linear at all.
Mhm.
um
And it's like, I mean, I love the way that you're approaching it because it seems like a very gentle way to approach things and not to be so hard on ourselves. And sometimes, like, I feel like we live in this all or nothing scenario or life, and often life is not all or nothing. It can be sort of a progression over time, and things need to sort of catch up with one another. And so I really, really like that approach. But it sounds like there was like this inner knowing that something needs to change, that something you need to let go of something, or we need to let go of something. And it sounds like um, if we that is sort of like when we're at that time or space or that awareness, it's like that's fantastic, right? That's all you need to be is in that space of I need to change something. And once we're there, perfect, right? Because we can't change anything if we're not aware of that anything needs to be changed. So if we have some sort of awareness of think something needs to change, it sounds like that is like the perfect place to be, and that's when change begins.
that's right. I had a client, beautiful client, that came to me and said, I don't know what else to do. I'm trying to She was dealing with food. I'm trying to stop obsessing over stuff and weighing myself and et cetera, et cetera. I've tried everything. And I was like, you're finally done healing this thing. You're finally done refining it, figuring it out, and you're done. That's the perfect when you've tried everything and you feel like there some change is trying to push through me, but the mind is trying to manage it and put it in little uh, categories in order to let the mind know that, okay, I've got this. I know step A, B, and C. When all of that is done and we're just so exhausted from trying to change, guess what happens? That
Sort of like the gift of desperation almost, that we're just like, "Hey, I'm at a desperate point that I'm willing to do anything and everything, and
yeah,
I'm just done."
yeah, yeah. And that can look a lot different for a lot everybody. But I think there is a sense everybody knows that something is off with this, whatever this is. And they're correct. We're not supposed to be able to pretend for too long. And pretend, I mean, I'm this kind of person and I do that and I do this and that's me. That is how you see people in their 80s and 90s very unhappy, very like negative, and because this persona performance takes a lot of energy, and especially for what you would call the ego, um, it starts to become rebellious in a way, meaning it will start to see it was what's the word? It will start to be just negative and resentful because the ego, if we talk about it like in a, it's not an entity, it's an accumulation of thoughts. But if you imagine you go down into like underwater deep sea scuba diving, the ego is like your goggles that focus attention on whatever rock is in front of you. Its job isn't to predict the future, to know what to do, to know everything about what the ocean. That's going on a way different level. So when we burden the identity with all of these things of I have to know how to do this, I have to know that and predict the future and fix the past, it starts to feel that burden and it starts to go negative and it starts to be resentful, and because it that's not its burden. That's being taken care of on some other dimension level, not the self identity, the thoughts. So I think that, again, when we can start to loosen everything up in what we think we know, there's a point where the mind, the system is like, what, I don't know, that feels unstable. Yes, yeah, because the stability that we've been building is not actually stable.
And I feel like we're so used to trying to find a sense that we're in control, that there's constantly what our mind wants to do, and we are just grasping at, I need to feel, or I need to get the sense that I'm in control of things. And when I feel like I'm in control of things, that I kind of feel power. I feel powerful. And that when I feel like I'm not in control, I kind of feel powerless. But the irony is, the more and more we let go of control and we just go with the flow, the more we are connected to the power source. And we are therefore become powerful. So the more and more we let go of control, the more and more we're present, the more we just let life happen, and we go with the flow, and the more we're a part of something that is far greater than us can be. The one thing I wanted to what I thought was like really interesting is hearing you being this dancer and going through this eating disorder. And on one hand, I feel like it was a wonderful way to express yourself and to cope. Right. But on the other, I feel like it sort of magnified the eating disorder at the same time. And it seemed like both those things were happening. Like it was exercise, you got to be around people and express yourself through dance. But at the same time, it was causing, like, there was aspects of it that was causing harm.
Absolutely. Standing in front of a mirror for 8 hours a day, criticizing and being very hyper focused on the body really, I think, emphasized and um, enhanced the identity of I am this body. And when that is being cultivated and kind of reinforced every single day, and it's going to hurt, it's going to cause suffering because it's not true. Not because it is true and I can't figure out a way to deal with it and be okay with it. It hurts because it's not true. Does that make sense? It's like, yeah, there's whatever's being reinforced innocently to make a belief solid that I am this body and it has to look a certain way and it doesn't, and I need to fix that. It just keeps looping and looping and looping and looping. So I had to retire. I had to step away from all of that and look back at it with gratitude of, wow, that had to happen in that way to really just blow it all up and let those structures fall and shift and shed, and then so that there could be more of a clear slate to be curious about what the hell is going on here.
Mhm. And I love hearing the gratitude you have for some of the suffering that needed to happen. It's almost like you have this wonderful sense of self in the world around you, and it's because of the suffering you went through that you were kind of in some way forced to drastically change your perception of what is true in reality and in your internal and external experiences. And something there was a Gabor Mate I often bring up because he talks about addiction, and it's sort of he calls it the hungry ghost, always wanting more and never being satisfied. And I feel like that captures a lot of the human experience.
I agree, I agree. The hungry ghost is unrecognized thought. That's all it is. It's complete identification with every single thought in that arises out of the blue. And it has that hunger to it because thought is some sort of mysterious energy, we don't even know what it is. So it doesn't have a substance to it that could be satisfied. Like how do you satisfy electricity? It's just so that again, when we can wake up to this weird experience of visual thinking or auditory or sensations, and then listen to what is the narrative and how much of my life is just memorized narration. Wow, that's an eye opener there. And so that
Um,
go
do
ahead.
you do you feel like the being being a performer and a dancer in New York City, do you feel like that environment has changed over time, or do you feel like it's slowly changing, or they're open to kind of changing and have more a different view of like bodies and acceptance and things like that, or is it more or less the same?
I have no idea. Again, the one the Amanda who would perceive it in a certain way is gone. Looking at it now, I have no idea because I'm seeing everything through a different lens. I don't know. When I see it through an old lens, then I could make that determination because it would still be a separation of me. Do I fit into what they think is good enough, and is what they think good enough changing? I don't know. I don't know if
Do
that
you
makes any
I
sense.
yeah, I understand where you're getting at. I guess I'm just curious of like, if that arena, if because I feel like there's more people that are coming out saying, "Hey, like, this is what's happening in these spaces is causing harm, and we need to kinda make some changes in how we approach dancers and performances." And, so I'm just curious if things are sort of moving in a more positive direction, I guess is my question.
I think so. I don't know if that's necessary though, because I think it's if you can wake up to the system, whether the system changes or not doesn't really matter because you now are have a kind of a better read on, are you trying to fit into a system that isn't right for you, or or do you want to do something else? So I think it is changing, but I don't know. I don't. More people are waking up, that's for sure. Um, but I think it's cyclical. It goes in cycles, and it depends on your perception of the system and your relation to it, and starting to see um, nothing needs to change because my perception is changed.
I the part of dancing, I firmly believe that dancing and things like singing can be like a spiritual experience. Do you still find yourself dancing?
I'm doing other movement, not what I used to do, but I do other movement. But it's really interesting, the channel of dance that kind of channeled that energy, that spirit, that um, n- ephemeral sense of otherworldly freedom. That channel is widened to like looking at the birds outside or making a cup of coffee. Or it's no longer kind of siloed off to where if I can't dance, I'm gonna blow up or I'm gonna be all, depressed or something. So it's really more, it's the channel itself has expanded to all of reality, has the opportunity to bring in that experience of expansive, whatever you want to call it. So I do,
So
but
yeah,
I
in
also
different
don't.
ways, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah,
The dance of life, so to speak.
yeah.
You're dancing in life. The so it's I mean, it sounds like you had this awakening, this change, and you started to seek, right? You started to like, and it's like reading your bio. It sounds like you've tried all these different things. Like you were trying to get help and healing, and you were collecting all these like stepping stones and going along this path of healing and growing, and it sounds like some things worked, but some things didn't work as well, and you finally landed upon the Little School of Big Change.
Actually, before that, I landed upon what was called the three principles: mind, consciousness, and thought. And that led me to Amy, who is Dr. Amy Johnson, who is the owner of Little School of Big Change. So I did try a lot of different things, and a lot of things really just served to chip at the tip of the iceberg instead of warming the water underneath. It was still very much identity centered. How can I change myself? And that just it didn't it didn't land deep enough for me. So I came across the principles and then met Amy and then started to work with her and then started to work for her now. Um, but it was, I think everybody has their own resonance with some sort of teaching, or be it Zen Buddhism or AA or whatever it is. If you find that resonance, it's very important to know when it's done. I call it the burn pile. When it's ready for the burn pile, let it go on the burn pile. Because if we're clinging on to some specific modality or um, teaching, it can start to turn into a law that you have to now follow. And that doesn't feel good. So I think it's important to pick up every breadcrumb in front of you, but also watch it dissolve because you don't need it, but it's there for you if you do.
Yeah, and there's different things at different times too.
Exactly. Yeah.
um which is like I mean, that's sort of like it's sort of like this mosaic, or that there's all these different pieces that we collect, and we and it's all these pieces of healing to kind of allow us to let the light shine through, so to speak. So I can you before we get into your practice, that sounds like it incorporates a lot of the things from Dr. Amy Johnson. You talked about the 3, it was like 3 principles, or right, it was thought, consciousness,
Mind.
and mind. Can you tell us a little bit about those 3 things? And then maybe we can sort of go into your practice and, Dr. Amy, the things you learned from the Little School Big Change and how you incorporate it in your practice?
Sure. So just as a disclaimer, the principles are just a framework like any other framework. But it allowed me enough clarity that I could understand it uh, int- intellectually and then let it drop down. So mind would be the electricity. So I'll give you an analogy, like an old school film projector. Mind is the electricity. Consciousness is what um, you see on the screen. No, sorry, let me start over. It's been a
No, but I
while
love
since
this
I
analogy so far, 'cause I think I know where you're going with it, and so but I appreciate this analogy.
it it's been a while since I've described this, so I think I did it wrong. Let me start over. Um, the screen on the film or in the movie, the screen is clear, untouched by what gets projected onto it. Now, thought is the different plot points and the characters and everything. Consciousness is what is the light coming through the projector, lighting everything up. So mind is the blank screen. Thought is what's being projected onto it, and consciousness is the light that allows you to experience it. So those are the principles, but I don't use those really in my work anymore because it's kind of clunky. Um, as you can tell, to try to explain it. But really, they're not three; they're just one. But it's a way that our minds like to categorize things and kind of split them apart in order to explore them. But it's really one happening. Um, but the projector analogy is a good one to try to parse out these three things: mind, consciousness, and thought.
Right. I mean, and it seems like that, like those 3 principles sort of like lead into, and I know it's a part of Dr. Amy Johnson's like approach or a piece of it, but those 3 principles sort of are leading into like non-duality, right? That like there's that we're not that we're not one thing, that we're all sort of connected to everything all at once. And so I know that's like an important piece to what you believe, what you believe in, or what you include in your practice and in your coaching practice,
Yeah.
correct?
The principles are like an appetizer before you get into non-duality. Because if you go straight, well, for me, I'll just speak for myself. Going straight in, like I read I Am That by Nisargadatta like 30 years ago. And I was like, what? Something's here that's resonating, but I have no idea what anything is. So I kind of needed a primer, and that's what for me the principles were. And then you let that go, and then you fall deeper and deeper and deeper, and some would call that into the non-duality teachings. And then you let that go and start to go deeper and deeper, deeper, slowly letting these handholds go and to allow the mind and the body time enough to feel safe to even consider there's no separate self, even consider in a non-scary way that this is all a dream reality. Right? So little pieces.
It's sort of getting comfortable in stepping into the unknown and having no idea how things are going to unfold and happen, but being comfortable in that space, I think is, and sort of, the journey along the way, right?
Exactly. Because honestly, we're never afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of the no. We're afraid of what the mind is like, this is this and this is going to happen. That's terrifying. So every single minute is we're in the unknown already. And that's something that's it is comforting because it's not like something you have to manufacture. It's already the case. This is the unknown. It's not something new.
Right, absolutely. Um, and how do you, how do you work with your clients? Or tell me a little bit more about your practice and how you give people space to learn and grow and to walk with them along growth.
Well, I love working with people because when they come to me, there's either some resonance already. They've heard me speak or seen me in the school or been referred or something. So they know they're not coming to be judged. Old 6 steps in order to feel better and stop the habit or pattern. I just open, I like to just see that being in front of me and see what does their experience look like? Why does it look that way? Very open curiosity. Um, there's a good analogy. There's the person in front of me is Buddha. Everybody is Buddha. But the mind, the conditioned mind, has this big catcher's mitt, and it's trying to catch everything I say and kind of think about it and does this apply to me and what does that mean and all that. But some things are getting through the mitt. Some things are being missed by the mind, the conditioned mind, and going to a place that's deeper that does that I call it the back room. It's all working in the back room. And that is kind of like warming the waters underneath the iceberg. So if people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand. I'm like, great. I'm not talking to that one. I'm talking to Buddha to say, I know you don't have to pretend anymore. I see you. Because it's really just getting through this persona identification and the fight from the mind that doesn't want that to happen. And so we explore together very playfully, very light. Nothing is serious. If you come to me with a very serious concern, we look at that seriously. But it's also good news that gets revealed. Not what the mind says this is about, my habit or my pattern. That's never what it's about.
What are some tools that you bring with you to kind of help guide people along through this process?
Mythology, astrology, all the woo woo,
Tell
all
us
of
a little bit more. What are some of these like mythology? The first two you had mentioned, mythology and astrology. How do you incorporate that into, yeah, to helping someone see the light within them?
Well, I don't it's just here. I don't say, "Oh, you're a Leo and this is why that's happening." It's more my openness to the unseen, the energetic unknown that helps me kind of approach them. So I don't actually talk about these things to them. It's more of my own opening to see different pieces, different tendencies that can be represented in these other ways, like mythology, like astrology. But so I don't say what's your sign and then draw up your chart. But it everything is included because all of this ancient wisdom has hung around for a long time for a reason. So when we can start to be open to what we first doubted is true and real, like mystery and um, ancient culture, ancient ways of exploring reality, even better. The more the better, the more the merrier.
And you do, not only do you work with people one on one, but you do workshops as well, correct?
I do, yes, I haven't done, I do courses, um, small courses like 4 weeks. It hasn't been for a while now, but, and I also work in the school with Amy. I do 2 calls a month, and then she has a forum that I'm on. Um, and I do presentations for groups. So yeah, it's exciting because it's something that feels easy,
Effortless.
effortless. Yeah, yeah.
And you have a book as well,
You
correct?
Mhm, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
So the book Uncovery has a much better explanation of the principles that I fumbled before. I was trying to remember. It was written in 2017, I think, and it outlines the awakening. It's not all about me. It's about really um, ha- the the freedom that is available for any kind of habit addiction patterning. Um, and it I wrote it, but I wasn't writing it. It was very interesting. It just came through. And that hasn't happened since, but it's a very easy to read kind of story to help people consider something out of the norm of how do I stop this habit and pattern and addiction. It's very broad. It's much more easy to, I think, resonate with. That's why I wrote it. Again, I really feel like I didn't write it.
It was just like this information was flowing through you. And it often happens when people are like in this flow state of creating and being creative, right? You often hear when people like musicians talk about creating music or poetry or art that it was sort of like they were on autopilot almost. It was just sort of they were the body and there was something else working through them and within them. And they were just in this flow state. I mean, it sounds similar.
100%. That's it. It's a channeling. And we're channeling all the time. You don't have to be a special like an artist or something. We are channeling all the time, and that's part of what we want to wake up to is that this conditioned mind narrative that we've learned and adopted to believe is real isn't doing anything. It's not in charge. It's not in control. It's not writing your Mozart symphony. The channel of whatever this is and whatever comes through has always been the thing doing it. So yeah, the flow state is so interesting because we can start to ask the question of when do I believe I'm not in the flow state? Like what has to happen for me to determine I'm not in the flow state? That's an interesting question to start to see maybe I always am. Like, what are the parameters that tell me I'm not in flow right now? It's usually a bunch of thought.
Yeah. Um, who would who would benefit from seeing you? Anyone and everyone, or people come to you with certain things that they want to work on?
Anyone and everyone, if you're open to um, listening, if you're done with trying so hard, try. If you're done with that, come see me.
Sounds like as long as you're open, that there's that you're willing to work with anyone as long as they're open to anything, anything and everything. What would any suggestions for people that feel like maybe they're wanting to change, or maybe they feel like they know someone that has an eating disorder, or maybe themselves feel like they're going through something that feels similar, and they have this, this part of them that's like, I think I need to do something about this. What's something that you would, suggest to them?
Start to explore that felt sense of something's off and wants to change. Like, get really quiet and just sit in that and let it tell you, instead of going the other way on top and trying to shape it before it's shaped. That's what I
Sort of like what's coming to my mind for me is sort of like talk with this part
Mhm,
or piece
mhm.
that wants to change, or that's
Just
saying,
listen.
"Hey, we need to do something about this," and just sit and listen and see what comes back.
Yeah, the field of consciousness is abundant, and we are part of it. And so when you just kind of be quiet and feel that felt sense of something is changing, wants to change, or whatever you describe it as, listen. Let it shape itself to tell you. It's so much easier than trying to demand it look a certain way or predict it should look a certain way. That it's going to be very kind of nebulous, but also resonant. If we just sit with that intuition or instinct, it will, you'll feel a pull one way or the other. Maybe a direction change, maybe very subtle, very easy. Not 5 steps ahead, but right now there will be there will be a pull towards something.
Noticing a feeling, like, noticing what it feels like to, like, either a push or a pull, and
Yeah,
just noticing that,
yeah.
I think can be a profound, realization.
Yes, we're letting reality come through a different channel than the conditioned mind. We're we're starting to collaborate with all of whatever this is, rather than thoughts of this is this and that's that and you have to whatever. You open a different channel by feel a felt sense, feeling into this. Without the words, you'll hear the narrator. But okay, you drop below that and just kind of, what is this? Can I swim in it? Where's it going? What's it shaping up? It's going to shape and then dissolve and shape and dissolve. And you start to be settled in that, because it's a better place. You can't be settled in the mind. It's too chaotic.
And I love the imagery of, swimming in it.
Mhm.
I feel like there's, like, also a lot of play to be had when we're sort of swimming in things, and, right, it's not so concrete,
Yeah.
and we can go places when we're swimming in it. How can listeners support you?
Go to my website and listen to my podcast, The Wonderland. I also have a Patreon page to be a member of the podcast. Um, in which, if you join, you'll get weekly emails for that episode, and then also a one-on-one quarterly with me, and then a monthly group call. So it's just a way to, it's a small community to kind of just connect in that space. Um, or just listen to the website. I mean, listen to the podcast or listen to the website. Get the book. Reach out to me with any questions, or book a call, or yeah. But the podcast has changed recently to where I used to have a co-host, and she's moved on. So now it's me, and they're little kind of bite-sized transmissions, and I just love for people to check that out. They're
Amanda,
wonderful.
thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for finding your fun and your playfulness and what that looks like. But thank you for showing other people that it's okay to have fun and to be playful, and giving them the space to kind of figure out what that is. But yes, thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Amanda continues to work with people and expand her reach through the Wonderland podcasts and her writings. For Amanda, delighting in the mystery of this dimension and the unseen dimensions that are available to us all continues to be the most fun of all. If you enjoyed this episode, you can support the show by liking, sharing, or subscribing wherever you're listening. You can find us online at thisthingcalledlife.center. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit thisthingcalledlife.center/contact. Until next time, thank you for listening and being with us on This Thing Called Life.